War Commander Thakmor stared at the human commander on his screen. Her calm face made him angry. How could she be so confident when she only had one ship? He had fought battles across the galaxy and numbers always won in the end. All ships attack Formation 7, he shouted into his communicator. Surround the human vessel and destroy it. The Vorthak fleet began to move. 200 alien ships spread out in a huge circle around the Goliath's fist. From every direction, weapons began to charge up. The space around the human ship started to glow with deadly energy. Commander Yoon Seo watched the alien ships on her tactical display. She could see exactly what they were planning to do. It was a good strategy if you were fighting normal ships, but the Titan was not a normal ship. Subin, she said to her tactical officer. What do you think? Subin studied the enemy formation on her screens. Her mind worked quickly, calculating angles and distances. They are trying to hit us from all sides at once. A classic overwhelming attack. It would work against any other ship. But not against us, Yoon Seo said. No, Commander, not against us. Yoon Seo pressed a button on her chair. All hands, this is the Commander. We are about to show these aliens what humanity can do. Remember your training. Trust your equipment. Make every shot count. Throughout the massive ship, 50,000 crew members prepared for battle. In the fighter bays, pilots climbed into their ships. In the weapon control rooms, gunners checked their targeting systems. In engineering, Dong Hyun watched over the ship's powerful engines and shields. Enemy ships are in position, Subin reported. They will fire in 30 seconds. Raise shields to maximum, Yoon Seo ordered. All weapons prepare to fire on my command. The Vorthak attack began like a storm of light. Hundreds of weapons fired at the same time from every direction. Acid cannons shot streams of green death. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space like falling stars. Energy beams thick as trees stabbed at the human ship. All of these weapons hit the Goliath's fist at the same moment. The shields around the ship glowed brighter than a sun. The space around the Titan filled with explosions and burning energy. On the void render, Thakmor watched the attack with satisfaction. No ship could survive that much firepower. Even if the human vessel was very strong, it would be badly damaged. When the light faded, his satisfaction turned to shock. The Goliath's fist hung in space exactly where it had been before. Its shields were still glowing, but they looked perfectly fine. The massive human ship had not moved even 1 meter. It looked like nothing had happened to it at all. Impossible, Thakmor whispered. War Commander, his sensor officer said with fear in her voice. Our attacks did no damage, none at all. On the human ship, Yoon Seo looked at the damage report on her screen. Shields at 97%, reported the shield officer. Yoon Seo almost smiled. The aliens had just used their best attack, and it had barely scratched the Titan's shields. Now it was time to show them what real weapons could do. He Jin, she said, fire the quantum lances. Pick your targets. Yes, Commander, Hyejin replied. Her hands danced over her controls like a musician playing a perfect song. 4 of the massive cannons turned toward different parts of the alien fleet. Energy built up inside them until they glowed like small stars. When they fired, 4 beams of impossible brightness cut through space. Each beam hit a group of Vorthak ships. The alien vessels simply disappeared. One moment they were there, and the next moment they were gone. The beams had destroyed them so completely that not even pieces were left behind. 12 enemy ships vanished in the first salvo. Gravitational pulse generator. Prepare to fire, Yoon Seo ordered. Chief Engineer Dong Hyun activated the strange weapon from his engineering station. The huge spinning rings began to turn faster and faster. The blue crystals on them started to glow. Firing gravitational pulse, Dong Hyun announced. Something invisible shot out from the Titan toward a group of 30 Vorthak ships. When it hit them, the alien vessels began to act very strangely. Some of them started to crush inward like giant hands were squeezing them. Others began to stretch apart, their metal hulls pulling like soft clay. The gravitational weapon had changed the way gravity worked around those ships. Some were being crushed by their own weight. Others were being torn apart by forces they could not fight. In less than a minute, 30 more alien ships were destroyed. On the void render, panic was starting to spread. Officers shouted reports that did not make sense. Weapons that should not exist were destroying ships that should have been invincible. War Commander, his communications officer said, we are getting emergency calls from all over the fleet. They want to know what to do. Thakmore tried to think. Half of his advanced ships were already gone, and the human vessel had not even moved. How could one ship be so powerful? "Launch all fighters," he ordered. Maybe small ships can get past their defenses. Thousands of Vorthak fighter craft poured out of the alien ships like angry insects. They were fast and deadly, designed to swarm over enemy vessels and cut them apart. But as they approached the Titan, something unexpected happened. Human fighters began launching from the huge ship. At first, there were only a few dozen, then hundreds, then thousands. Fighter Squadron Leader Jae-sung led the first wave of human pilots. His ship was sleek and fast, built with the same advanced technology as the Titan itself. "All pilots, this is Jae-sung," he said over the radio. "Remember, these aliens think we are weak. Let's show them how wrong they are." The human fighters moved through space like dancers. They were faster than the alien fighters and much more agile. When the two forces met in the middle of the battlefield, it was not even close to a fair fight. Human pilots flew circles around the alien fighters. Their weapons were more accurate and more powerful. In the first minute of the fighter battle, 100 alien craft were destroyed while the humans lost none. "Impossible," Thakmore said again. It was becoming his favorite word, but the worst was yet to come. The Titan's point defense systems came online. Thousands of small weapons all over the ship began firing at once. They created patterns of light that looked almost beautiful as they destroyed wave after wave of alien fighters. The point defense guns moved with perfect accuracy. They never missed. They never wasted a shot. Every burst of energy destroyed exactly one enemy fighter. "Subin," Yunseo said. "How many enemy ships are left?" Subin checked her screens. 143, Commander. They are starting to fall back." Yunseo could see that the aliens were getting scared. Their perfect formation was breaking apart as ships tried to escape the Titan's weapons. "Activate the temporal displacement field," she ordered. The space around the Goliath's fist began to shimmer. Reality seemed to bend and twist. Suddenly, the massive ship was not where it had been a second before. It was now right in the middle of the alien fleet. The Vorthak ships found themselves face to face with the human dreadnought. They were so close they could see the individual weapons on its hull. "Fire everything," Yunseo said quietly. The Titan unleashed its full power for the first time. Every weapon on the ship fired at once. The space around them turned into a storm of destruction that no alien ship could survive. Captain Hansol stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Seeker's Dawn, watching stars drift past the main window. He had been in space for 20 years, but the sight still made him feel peaceful. The ship moved quietly through the darkness, its crew of 30 people working at their stations. The calm broke when a loud beeping sound filled the bridge. Communications Officer Ji-woo looked up from her screen with wide eyes. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls, trying to understand what she was seeing. "Captain, I'm getting an emergency signal from Earth Command," Ji-woo said. Her voice was steady, but Hansol could hear worry underneath. "It's marked as Priority 1. Hansol walked over to her station. Priority 1 signals were rare. They only came when something very bad was happening. "Put it through to the main screen," he said. The front screen changed from showing space to showing Admiral Taemin's face. The Admiral looked tired, and Hansol noticed new lines around his eyes. They had known each other for 15 years since their days at the Space Academy. "Hansol, I need you to listen carefully," Taemin said. "Our long-range sensors have picked up something big. There's an alien fleet moving toward our colonies in the Kepler system." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing to listen. Hansol felt his stomach drop. They had always known this day might come, but it still felt like a shock. "How many ships?" Hansol asked. 200, Taemin replied. "Maybe more. Each one is about the size of New Tokyo." Hansol tried to stay calm, but inside he was worried. New Tokyo was one of their biggest cities on Earth. Ships that big could carry thousands of weapons and millions of alien soldiers. "What do we know about them?" Ji-woo asked from her station. Taemin looked at some papers on his desk. "They call themselves the Vorthak Empire. We've been watching them for 6 months as they move through our part of the galaxy. Every planet they visit either joins them or gets destroyed." The Admiral's face became more serious. "They don't seem to like making deals. From what we can tell, they think other species are weak and should be their slaves." Hansol walked to the center of the bridge. His crew was looking at him, waiting to see what he would do. These people trusted him to keep them safe and make good choices. Have they tried to talk to our colonies? Hansel asked. No, Taemin said. But Jiwoo, I'm sending you some signals we caught from their ships. See if you can figure out what they're saying. Jiwoo's computer made a soft sound as new information arrived. She started working right away, her fingers flying over the controls. She was the best at understanding alien languages that Hansol had ever met. While Jiwoo worked, Hansol thought about the human colonies in the Kepler system. About 2 million people lived there on 5 different planets. They were farmers, scientists, and families who had left Earth to build new lives among the stars. Captain, Jiwoo said after 10 minutes, I've got some of their messages translated. What do they say? Hansol asked. Jiwoo looked uncomfortable. They're talking about cleaning out the human settlements in 3 days. They keep calling us soft-skinned weaklings. Soft-skinned weaklings? Hansol repeated. Yes, sir. It seems like they looked at our colony ships and decided we can't fight very well. They think this will be easy for them. Hansol almost smiled at that. The aliens had no idea what humans could do when they were angry, but his smile faded when he thought about all the innocent people who would die if the aliens attacked. Taemin, Hansol said, looking back at the screen. What's our fleet doing? The admiral was quiet for a moment. That's the problem, Hansol. Most of our ships are spread out across human space. Even if we called them all back, we could maybe get 50 ships to Kepler in time. 50 ships against 200, Hansol said quietly. The math doesn't look good, Taemin agreed. But we're not giving up. I'm sending every available ship toward Kepler. We'll fight with what we have. Hansol respected the admiral's courage, but 50 ships would not be enough. The aliens had 4 times as many ships, and each alien ship was much bigger than human ships. Is there anything else? Hansol asked. Any secret weapons or hidden fleets? Taemin looked around to make sure no one else could hear him. There might be something, but I can't talk about it on an open channel. Just know that humanity isn't as helpless as we might look. The admiral's words gave Hansol a small feeling of hope. Taemin was not the kind of man to lie about something so important. What are your orders for us? Hansol asked. Get to the Kepler system as fast as you can. Your ship has the best long-range sensors in the fleet. We need you to watch the alien ships and tell us everything you see. Hansol nodded. We'll leave right now. Be careful, old friend, Taemin said. These aliens don't seem to care about prisoners. The screen went dark, leaving the bridge in silence. Hansol looked around at his crew. They were all good people who had signed up to explore space, not to fight in wars. You heard the admiral, Hansol said. We're going to Kepler. I won't lie to you, this could be dangerous. If anyone wants to leave the ship at the next station, I'll understand. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke about leaving. Hansol felt proud of his crew. All right then, he said. Jiwoo, keep working on those alien signals. I want to know everything they're planning. Everyone else, prepare the ship for high-speed travel. As his crew got busy, Hansol walked back to the main window. The stars looked the same as always, but everything felt different now. Somewhere out there, an alien army was moving toward human worlds, but Taemin's words stayed in his mind. Maybe humanity had surprises that even Hansol didn't know about. Maybe the aliens who thought humans were weak would learn something new. The Seeker's Dawn turned toward the Kepler system and jumped into hyperspace. Behind them, Earth was already preparing for war. Admiral Taemin walked through the secret tunnels under Luna City. The tunnels were so deep that even most government officials didn't know they existed. His footsteps echoed off the metal walls as he made his way to the most classified place in human space. 2 guards stood at a massive door marked only with the number 7. They checked Taemin's identity 3 different ways before letting him pass. Beyond the door was an elevator that went down for what felt like forever. When the elevator finally stopped, Taemin stepped out into a huge underground space. The cavern was so big that he couldn't see the far walls, but he could see what filled the middle of the space, and it took his breath away every time. The Titan-class warship Goliath's Fist sat in the center of the cavern like a sleeping giant. The ship was 15 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. It was bigger than most cities on Earth. Looking at it was like looking at a mountain that someone had taught to fly. Commander Yoon Seo was waiting for him at the base of the ship. She was tall and moved with the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. Her uniform was perfectly clean and her dark eyes missed nothing. "Admiral," she said, giving him a respectful nod, "I got your message. Are we really doing this?" The alien fleet will reach Kepler in 60 hours, Taemin said. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can really do. Yunseo had been chosen to command the Titan after years of testing. She was the best tactical mind in the human fleet, and the only person who truly understood how powerful the ship was. How many people know about this? She asked as they walked toward the ship's entrance. Maybe 50 people in all of human space, Taemin said. The project has been secret for 10 years. Even most of my own admirals think it's just a story. They entered the ship through a door that was big enough for a truck to drive through. Inside, the corridors were wide and tall. Everything was built to make people feel small, but also safe. Chief Engineer Dong Hyun was waiting for them in the main hallway. He was a short man with busy hands that were always moving. He had designed most of the ship's weapons himself, and he knew every piece of metal on the Titan. "Commander Admiral," he said, his voice excited. "All systems are ready. We can launch in 30 minutes. What about the crew?" Yunseo asked. 50,000 people, Dong Hyun said with pride. The best humans we could find. Pilots, gunners, engineers, doctors, soldiers. Every person on this ship is perfect at their job. As they walked deeper into the ship, Taemin explained what made the Titan special. "This isn't just a big ship with big guns," he said. "Everything on this ship is built with technology that's 50 years ahead of anything else we have." They reached the engineering section, where Dong Hyun showed them the ship's main weapons. The quantum lance cannons were as big as subway trains. Each one could punch a hole through a planet if fired at full power. "These cannons don't just shoot energy," Dong Hyun explained. "They change the way space and time work around the target. Nothing can stop them." Next, he showed them the gravitational pulse generators. These weapons looked like giant spinning rings covered in strange blue crystals. "These create artificial gravity fields," Dong Hyun said. "We can make enemy ships so heavy that they crush themselves, or we can make them so light that they float apart." The most amazing weapon was the temporal displacement field generator. It was a room-sized machine that hummed with power. "This lets us move the ship through space almost instantly," Dong Hyun said. "We can be on one side of a solar system and then on the other side in seconds. The enemy won't even see us coming." Yunseo listened carefully to everything. She had studied these weapons for 2 years, but seeing them ready for battle was different. "What about the fighters?" she asked. Dong Hyun smiled. "We have 5,000 fighter ships on board. Each one is faster and stronger than anything the aliens have. Our pilots have been training in secret for years. They took an elevator up to the bridge. The elevator ride took 5 minutes because the ship was so tall. When the doors opened, Yunseo saw the most advanced command center ever built. The bridge was shaped like a circle, with windows that showed space in every direction. Hundreds of screens displayed information about the ship and everything around it. 50 officers sat at control stations, each one managing a different part of the massive ship. Master Gunner Hai Jin was already at her station. She was famous in the fleet for being able to hit targets that other people couldn't even see. She had trained on the Titan's weapons for 3 years. "Commander," Hyejin said, "all weapons are loaded and ready. The quantum lances are charged to full power." Tactical Officer Subin looked up from her screens. She was young, but her mind worked like a computer when it came to space battles. She could predict what enemy ships would do before they did it. "I've been studying the alien fleet," Subin said. "Their ships are big, but they're slow. They rely on numbers, not speed or smart tactics." Yunseo sat down in the commander's chair. It was in the center of the bridge where she could see everything and everyone could see her. "Admiral," she said to Taemin, "are you sure about this? Once we show the Titan to the galaxy, everything will change." Taemin nodded. "Humanity has been hiding for too long. We've let other species think we're weak. It's time they learned the truth." The ship's engines started with a sound like distant thunder. The Goliath's fist had been sleeping for years, but now it was waking up. Power flowed through every system as the massive ship prepared to leave its hidden home. "All stations report ready," Subin announced. "Launch sequence initiated," Dong Hyun said from his engineering station. The floor of the cavern began to open. Massive metal doors that had been disguised as rock slowly moved apart. Above them, the surface of the moon split open to reveal the stars. "Take us out," Yunseo ordered. The Titan rose from its underground home like something from a dream. When it finally cleared the surface of the moon, it blocked out part of the sky. "Set course for the Kepler system," Yunseo said. "Maximum speed." The ship jumped into hyperspace, leaving behind only empty space where it had been. In 60 hours, the aliens would learn that they had made a terrible mistake. War Commander Thakmor stood in the control center of his flagship, the Void Render. Around him, his officers worked at stations made from living metal that pulsed with green light. The Vortex ships were not built like human ships. They were grown from special creatures that could live in space and shoot deadly weapons. Thakmor was 3 meters tall with dark purple skin and 4 arms. His species had conquered 12 other races in the last 50 years. To him, war was as easy as breathing. He had never lost a battle, and he did not plan to start now. "Report," he said to his second-in-command. "We have reached the edge of the human system," the officer replied. 200 ships in perfect formation. All weapons are ready. Through the main window, Thakmor could see his massive fleet. Each ship looked like a giant insect with weapons growing from its sides. The smallest ships were 2 kilometers long. The largest were 5 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy a moon. "What do our sensors tell us about the human defenses?" Thakmor asked. His science officer checked her readings. "Very little, War Commander. We see some small patrol ships near the outer planets. No major battle fleets, no weapons platforms. It appears the humans are helpless." Thakmor made a sound that was like laughter among his people, just as we thought. "These soft-skinned creatures are no match for the Vorthak Empire." The alien commander had studied reports about humans for months. They seemed to be a weak species that preferred talking to fighting. Their ships were small and their weapons were simple. Some of his officers had questioned why they were bringing such a large fleet to fight such weak enemies. "Begin the attack on their colonies," Thakmor ordered. "Start with the farming world. Show them what happens when they refuse to surrender." The Vorthak ships began moving toward the inner planets, their weapons charged up, ready to rain destruction on the human settlements below. Thakmor expected the humans to send messages begging for mercy. Instead, his communications officer looked confused. "War Commander, the humans are not trying to surrender. They are sending evacuation signals to their people." "Evacuation?" Thakmor repeated. "Where do they think they can go?" Before anyone could answer, the sensor officer made an alarmed sound. "War Commander, I am detecting something strange. There is a large object approaching from outside the system." Thakmor walked over to the sensor station. On the screen, he could see a single dot moving toward them. It was big enough to show up on their sensors from very far away, which meant it had to be huge. "How large?" he asked. The sensor officer worked at her controls for a moment. I'm not sure, War Commander. The readings do not make sense. It appears to be much larger than our biggest ships." Thakmor felt a small worry in his mind, but he pushed it away. The humans probably had one big ship that they thought could scare the Vorthak fleet. He had seen other species try the same thing. It never worked. "Send 60 ships to destroy whatever is coming," he ordered. "The rest of the fleet will continue with the attack." On the human colonies below, people were running to emergency shelters. But some of them stopped to look up at the sky. They had received a message from Earth Command telling them to watch for something amazing. High above the planet, space began to change. Reality seemed to bend and twist as something massive came out of hyperspace. The Vorthak ships that had been sent to intercept it suddenly looked like toys floating next to a mountain. The Goliath's fist appeared in normal space with a flash of blue light. The ship was so big that it blocked out the stars behind it. Its metal hull was dark gray and covered with weapons that glowed with inner fire. On the Void Render, every alarm was going off at once. The sensor officer stared at her screen with wide eyes. "War Commander," she said in a shaking voice, "the human ship is 15 kilometers long." Thakmor felt his confidence disappear like smoke. 15 kilometers was 3 times longer than his biggest ship. How had the humans built something so massive without anyone knowing about it? "All ships attack the human vessel immediately," he ordered into his communicator. The 60 Vorthak ships that had been sent to intercept the Titan opened fire with everything they had. Acid cannons, plasma torpedoes, and energy beams all struck the human ship at the same time. The space around the Goliath's fist lit up like a star as hundreds of weapons hit it. When the light faded, the human ship was still there. Its shields had absorbed the attack like it was nothing more than rain hitting a mountain. Commander Yunseo sat in her command chair, watching the alien ships on her screens. She felt calm and ready. This was the moment that humanity had been preparing for. "Heejin," she said to her master gunner, "show them what one of our weapons can do." "Yes, Commander," Heejin replied. Her hands moved over her controls with perfect skill. Quantum Lance 1, targeting 3 enemy ships in a line. On the outside of the Titan, one of the massive cannons turned toward the Vorthak ships. Energy began to build up inside the weapon until it glowed like a small sun. Firing, Hyagin announced. The quantum lance shot a beam of pure energy that was too bright to look at directly. The beam hit the first Vorthak ship and went completely through it. Then it hit the second ship and went through that one too. Finally, it hit the third ship and destroyed it as well. In less than 2 seconds, 3 alien cruisers had been turned into floating pieces of metal. On the void render, nobody spoke. The sensor officer checked her readings 3 times to make sure she was seeing correctly. War Commander, she finally whispered, 3 of our ships are gone, completely destroyed. Thakmor stared at the screen showing the human ship. 1 weapon had destroyed 3 of his best cruisers. How was that possible? His ships had armor that could stop anything. His weapons were the most powerful in the galaxy. What kind of species are these humans? He asked quietly. His communications officer looked up from her station. War Commander, we are receiving a message from the human ship. Put it on the main screen, Thakmor ordered. Commander Yoon Seo's face appeared on the screen. She looked calm and confident, like someone who held all the best cards in a card game. I am Commander Yoon Seo of the human warship Goliath's Fist, she said. You have entered human space with hostile intent. You have threatened human colonies. This is your only warning. Leave now or we will destroy every ship in your fleet. Thakmor tried to look strong, but inside he was starting to feel afraid. The human had spoken like someone who could actually do what she promised. Human, he said, you have only 1 ship. We have 200. Surrender now and we might let some of your people live. Yoon Seo smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. You think numbers matter? Let me show you how wrong you are. The space around the Goliath's Fist looked like the end of the world. Every weapon on the massive human ship was firing at once, creating a storm of energy that lit up the darkness. Alien ships exploded one after another as the Titan's guns found their targets with perfect accuracy. War Commander Thakmor watched his fleet die from the bridge of his flagship. Ships that had conquered entire worlds were being destroyed like toys. His proud warriors, who had never known defeat, were screaming in fear as their vessels were torn apart. All ships retreat, he shouted into his communicator. Fall back to the outer system. But there was nowhere to run. The human ship could teleport anywhere it wanted to be. Every time a group of Vorthak vessels tried to escape, the Titan would appear right next to them and unleash another wave of destruction. Commander Yoon Seo sat calmly in her command chair, watching the battle unfold on her screens. Her crew worked with smooth efficiency, like musicians playing a song they had practiced for years. Every order was carried out perfectly. Every shot hit its target. Status report, she said to her tactical officer. Subin checked her displays. 68 enemy ships destroyed, 47 damaged and trying to retreat. Only 28 ships are still fighting. The battle had been going on for less than 4 hours and the Vorthak fleet was already broken. Ships that had seemed so powerful when they arrived now looked helpless and weak. Commander, Communications Officer Jiwoo said from her station, we are getting surrender signals from 12 enemy ships. Yoon Seo considered this. The aliens had come here to destroy human colonies and kill innocent people. They had called humans weak and soft. They deserved no mercy. But Yoon Seo was not just thinking about revenge. She was thinking about the future. Tell the ships that want to surrender to power down their weapons and wait, she said. We will deal with them later. Chief Engineer Dong Hyun looked up from his station. Commander, all weapon systems are working perfectly. We can finish off the rest of their fleet in 30 minutes. I know we can, Yoon Seo said. But I want some of them to escape. Her crew looked surprised. Subin was the first to understand. You want them to carry the news back to their empire, she said. Exactly, Yoon Seo replied. What good is a demonstration of power if no one lives to tell others about it? On the void render, Thakmor was trying to save what was left of his fleet. His ship had been damaged but was still able to move. Around him, the remains of the once mighty Vorthak armada were either running away or floating dead in space. War Commander, his communications officer said, the human ship is not following us. It is just watching. Thakmor looked at the tactical display. The massive human dreadnought hung in space like a dark moon, its weapons still glowing but no longer firing. It could have destroyed every remaining Vorthak ship, but it was choosing not to. Why are they letting us go? He asked. His science officer was studying her sensor readings. Perhaps they want prisoners, she suggested. No, Thakmor said slowly. They want us to remember. They want us to go back and tell everyone what happened here. The truth of it made him feel cold inside. The humans were not just defeating the Vorthak fleet. They were sending a message to the entire galaxy. Get us out of here, Thakmor ordered. Best speed to the jump point. As the surviving alien ships limped away from the battle, the human colonists on the planets below came out of their shelters. They looked up at the sky and saw something amazing. The massive human warship was hanging there like a protective giant, its hull reflecting the light of their sun. Children who had been hiding in fear now pointed up at the sky in wonder. Parents who had thought they were going to die hugged their families and cried with relief. The Titan had saved them all. On the bridge of the Goliath's Fist, Yoon Seo opened a channel to the colonies below. This is Commander Yoon Seo of the human warship Goliath's Fist, she said. The alien threat has been eliminated. You are safe. Cheers could be heard over the radio as the colonists celebrated, but Yoon Seo was already thinking about what came next. Subin, she said. How many alien ships escaped? 15 ships, Commander. Including their flagship. Good. That should be enough. Fighter Squadron Leader Jae Sung brought his pilots back to the Titan. In the entire battle, the human fighters had not lost a single ship. The alien fighters had been so outclassed that it had not even been a fair fight. Commander, Jae Sung reported over the radio. All fighters recovered. 0 casualties, 0 casualties. Against a fleet of 200 alien warships, humanity had not lost a single person. It was the most one-sided victory in the history of space warfare. 3 months later, Admiral Taman sat in his office on Earth, reading reports from across human space. The news of the battle had spread through the galaxy faster than anyone had expected. Captain Hansol entered the office and sat down across from the Admiral. His ship, the Seeker's Dawn, had stayed to watch the battle and record everything that happened. The alien reactions have been interesting, Hansol said, placing a data pad on the desk. 17 different species have sent messages to Earth asking for peace treaties. Taman picked up the pad and looked through the messages. Species that had been threatening human colonies for years were now asking to be friends. What about the Vorthak Empire? Taman asked. They have pulled back all their expansion fleets, Hansol said. According to our spies, they are building new defenses around their home worlds. They think we might attack them. Taman almost smiled at that. The aliens who had planned to destroy humanity were now afraid that humanity might destroy them. Any word from Commander Yoon Seo? He asked. The Titan is patrolling the outer colonies, Hansol said. Every time an alien ship sees it, they turn around and leave immediately. The door to the office opened and Chief Engineer Dong Hyun walked in. He looked tired but happy. Admiral, he said, I have news from the Luna shipyard. Good news, I hope, Taman said. The best news, Dong Hyun replied. 3 more Titan-class ships will be ready within the year. After that, we can build one every 6 months. Taman leaned back in his chair. 4 Titan-class warships would be enough to protect every human colony. 8 would be enough to make humanity the strongest force in the galaxy. What about the alien intelligence reports? He asked Hansol. Hansol activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red dots showed alien empires. Blue dots showed human space. This is what we are hearing from our contacts, Hansol said. The Zephyr Consortium has canceled their plans to attack our mining stations. The Crystal Hive has withdrawn from 3 star systems that border human space. The Iron Lords are asking if they can buy human technology. The holographic display changed to show intercepted alien communications. Messages from across the galaxy all said the same thing. Avoid human space, do not anger the humans. They are much more dangerous than we thought. There is one message that I think you should hear personally, Hansol said. He activated an audio file. The voice that came out was War Commander Thakmor, speaking to the leaders of the Vorthak Empire. The humans are not what we thought, the alien commander said. They have ships that can destroy entire fleets. They have weapons that ignore all armor and shields. They have fighters that move like living creatures. We attacked them with 200 ships and barely 15 escaped. The recording continued with Thakmor describing the battle in detail. His voice shook as he talked about the Titan's impossible weapons and the complete destruction of his fleet. My recommendation, Thakmor said at the end, is that we never go near human space again. Find other species to conquer. The humans are not prey. They are the predators. Taman turned off the recording and looked out his window at the stars. For so long, humanity had hidden among those stars, trying to avoid stronger alien races. Those days were over. Send a message to all human colonies, he said. Tell them that the age of hiding is finished. Tell them that humanity takes its place among the stars not as refugees but as rulers. Far out in space, the Goliath's fist patrolled the border of human territory. Its massive hull gleamed in the light of distant suns, and its weapons were ready to defend humanity from any threat. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans were not the weak species they appeared to be. They were something much more dangerous. They were the apex predators of space,